Welcome back to my channel. My name is Aireonna. Unfortunately, 49ers just lost in embarrassing fashion to the Seattle Seahawks, falling 5-5 in the NFL and 1-3 in the division. That means they're last in the NFC West. And it's going to be a struggle to see if they can even get into the playoffs. I think right now they have a 35 to 40% chance to literally get into the playoffs. This is a team that people thought was in Super Bowl contention, and right now, I mean, they're probably going to miss the wild card round. That's how poorly they are performing. Like I said, they're 1-3 in the division, last in the division. By the way, those 3 losses were all games that they were winning going into the fourth quarter, and then they blew those leads. So not looking good at all. 5-5, mediocre record for a mediocre team. Same old issues popped up in this Seattle Seahawks game. By the way, Seahawks won 20-17. But it's the same old issues. I mean, penalties upon penalties, the O-line crumbling, red zone issues. They did score twice in the red zone, and that was very impressive. That was on Brock and Juwan Jennings. The only highlights from offense were Brock utilizing his legs. Now, he did miss a couple layups, but I think for the most part, Brock kept the 49ers in that game. For a large part of the game, the 49ers were winning, and I think that was due to Brock utilizing his legs, getting first downs, getting that touchdown. And then Juwan Jennings, I mean, I've been saying it since last year in the Super Bowl. The 49ers would have won. Juwan Jennings would have won Super Bowl MVP. He has been the best wide receiver on the team since last year in the playoffs, and that has continued. Last week was his first week filling in at that X position, so Brandon Ayuk's position. And I mean, it sucks that they lost this game because, and they lost the Rams game when it was like this too. His highlight standout games, I mean, he can't wear it all. Like Deebo Samuel, where are you? Christian McCaffrey's back, but not the runner that he was. He's good as a dump-off option, but right now, they're not even dumping it off to him that much. I mean, Brock Purdy is scrambling right away or taking sacks. It's getting scary out there. And then Deebo Samuel. I don't know what's up with Deebo. First of all, Kyle Shanahan, stop trying to use Deebo as a runner. That hasn't worked since 2021. It's not working now. They utilized him as a runner once, went for -1 yards. Stop going back to that. It's not working. Same thing. Christian McCaffrey, he averaged 4.2 yards per carry. Like I said, I think he's really helping in the passing game, but as a runner, he's not the same runner as he is. I'm not saying he shouldn't be a running back, but they need to have more of a rotation. He was getting tired catching his breath. Greg Olsen, the announcer, was even talking about how out of breath he was. Think about Brandon Ayuk when he started after being off all offseason. Chris McCaffrey not only missed the offseason, but then missed all season so far with that bilateral Achilles tendonitis. So he's just getting into game shape. He averaged, like I said, 4.2 yards per carry. Jordan Mason, who for some reason Kyle will not fucking consistently use, only ran him twice, averaged 6.5 yards per carry. In his career, he averages 6 yards per carry. In multiple games this year, Jordan Mason averaged 7 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry. I mean, they need to have a rotational pull. They didn't even utilize Isaac Guerendo in this, which makes no sense because the defenses, I mean, they were closing the box on the 49ers. Kyle wasn't scheming guys open, / guys weren't getting open in the passing game. So all the defenders were on the line of scrimmage. It was like Jimmy G days when all the defenders would just come within 10 to 5 yards of Brock Purdy. I mean, they were there immediately. And a great way to kind of open the field back up, one would be to throw it long to Ricky Pearsall, who also didn't get play today. But then 2, if you're going to run the ball, then throw it to the side, have Isaac Guerendo bounce out and go for 75 yards and score a touchdown like you did the last time you did him. I don't understand. Kyle Shanahan will have these things that work and then never go back to them. It doesn't make any sense. This is the genius head coach that no one's allowed to criticize. That doesn't make any sense. Anyways, so like I said, penalties. Jake Brendel, at one point, the 49ers, they ended, I think, with 11 penalties, but when they were on their 8th penalty, the camera shows Jake Brendel after the penalty, and he's just laughing. And it's like, is this the mindset of these vets of the team, these vets that needed to all come back and get paid so that they could make a Super Bowl run? Like, how are you not taking this seriously? You have Like, you should be embarrassed. You have 8 penalties. You're a championship contender. Like, no, you're going to miss the playoffs. That's what you're going to do. So penalties. They couldn't run the ball on first down. They were getting no yards. I mean, barely moving. It kept getting stuffed. Offense, every time that they did get some sort of momentum, defense got a turnover. They were shooting themselves in the foot with false starts, holding penalties. Kyle was just massively outcoached. The offense did nothing. Like I said, Brock Purdy utilizing his legs, Juwan Jennings, only things that I thought were okay. Now let's get to defense. People are going to say the 49ers lost this game because of defense. At the end, Geno Smith and the Seahawks walked down. They scored a touchdown. Geno Smith scrambled for a touchdown, but he could have literally just walked in. I mean, guys had their backs to Geno. They were in man coverage, trying to cover DK and everything. And DK, it's so embarrassing they lost this game. Geno sucked this game. DK Metcalf is their number 1 wide receiver. He was terrible. He couldn't get his feet in bounds earlier in the game. And then at the very end, after all these, by the way, Geno Smith has lost 5 games straight to the 49ers. Didn't make it a 6th, though. He finally won a game. And I feel like after 5 games in a row of losing, he realized, hey, what is the 49ers defense number 1 issue? Oh, yeah, they can never stop a scrambling quarterback. Can I run? Oh, I can't. Oh, yeah. So then Geno ran, had 2 really big runs at the very end of the game. Like I said, I don't put this on the defense. The Seahawks had 13 points all the way up to the last series. If you told me before the game and said Seahawks are going to score 20 points in this game or the Niners going to win, I'd say yeah. You can't expect to win when you score 17 points at home. At home? What are you doing? Like, this is your genius play caller and your star power offense. People are going to say, oh, George Kittle was out. You have Ricky Pearsall, who's been incredible. Juwan Jennings, who's a wide receiver 1. Debo Samuel, who's making $25 million a year. Like, no. Christian McCaffrey's back. Like, there can't always be an excuse. 2 amazing running backs that for some reason Kyle isn't utilizing, and a quarterback that can, 1, throw down the field, and 2, utilize his legs. It can't all just come down to George Kittle every week. It can't be a new excuse for the offense not to put up points. Anyways, like I said, at the very end, defense held the Seahawks to 13 points, but then Geno Smith, he hits 1 really big run, hits a pass, and then to seal it off, he basically walked right into the end zone. Kyle, Brock, Debo, they weren't good enough. It was going to have to come down to the defense. Steve Wilkes is somewhere laughing at that last call from Nick Sorensen. What a shame that they fired him, right? Should be mentioned, Bosa did leave the game at the very end. Not at the very end, but the last quarter with, by the way, I only listened to part of his press conference. I'll be doing a separate video on all the injuries, but Bosa left the game. I was assuming he's been struggling with that hip pointer injury. If you saw that Tampa game, he was reaching down, holding his hip in a lot of pain all last week. This week when he was talking to reporters, he said that if he was in that much pain again, he wouldn't be able to push through. So they end up approving him. He's able to go, playing actually pretty well throughout the whole game. He leaves in the 4th quarter, and I assumed, because he made a tackle, put the 49ers in good position, and then as soon as he left, the 49ers let the Seahawks walk down on them. But anyways, as soon as he left the game, I'm assuming it's that same hip that flared up. Kyle Shanahan, in his press conference just now, said it was his other hip / oblique that was bothering him. So not even the hip that was holding him out and that was bothering him before, but now a new hip injury. So, I mean, the 49ers already, like I said, probably going to miss the playoffs. But if they're missing Bosa, they're definitely not going anywhere. No offense, because I do think this defense has held their own weight. But with the way this offense is playing, the defense has to give up 10 points or less for the offense to be able to win. I'll definitely give you guys updates as soon as I'm done with this immediate reaction. I'll watch the press conferences, I'll hear the injury updates, and I'll give you guys that. But, yeah, I felt like it was Kyle Shanahan getting absolutely outcoached, which is, like I said, embarrassing because that Seahawks team is awful. It was who wants to lose this game worse type of game. I mean, it was the announcers were sitting there talking about how these were 2 teams that were hopefully in the playoff, run, thinking that they were going to make efforts to go to the Super Bowl, and they were like, this these two teams look like two teams that should not even be in the playoffs and are going to lose in the first round if they get there. And I agree with that. Kyle Shanahan doesn't know how to utilize what players he needs to. He doesn't know how to call creative play calls. This week he got snarky with a media member who asked if Brock Purdy has the ability to audible at the line of scrimmage. That's that changing the play call. He was basically clarifying, like, if that first play isn't working, the second play isn't working, but Brock sees something on his own. You've heard Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce talk about this before, where on the field they'll notice that a defense is doing something and they'll change it. Reporter basically asked Kyle, like, does Brock have the power to do that? And as he progresses and you get more confidence in him, maybe not even this year, but if you're going to pay him $65 million to be your franchise quarterback next year, and for all the years to come, are you going to start giving him that sort of level of responsibility if he earns it? Kyle scoffed at the question, basically said no, and Brock Purdy only used that can one time, and it was for a handoff to Christian McCaffrey that immediately got stuffed. Not feeling confident in Kyle Shanahan. I'd love you guys to answer this in the comments. Do you think that Kyle Shanahan should be on the hot seat right now? Do you think if he misses the playoffs that he should be fired? Do you think that he should be given a full another year after this? Should the 49ers and Jed York at least reach out to Ben Johnson from the Lions and ask him, would you be willing to coach Brock Purdy? Would you be willing to come to the 49ers? And do you want Brock Purdy to be the quarterback, or would you want Rain to pick your quarterback? I really think they need to start having a fire sale. Like I said, Deebo Samuel, they restructured his contract, so I don't know how hard it's going to be to move off of him next year, but they're giving him $25 million. Brandon Ayuk, he did have surgery on his ACL and MCL this week. It went successfully, but he's not going to be healthy not even to start next year. He might be back in the middle of next year, so you can't count on Brandon Ayuk. And I wonder if the 49ers are second guessing paying Brandon Ayuk that, because Juwan Jennings makes, I think, $7 million and is doing just as good as a job, if not better, as Brandon Ayuk does. No offense to Brandon Ayuk. I hope he heals up great. Now, I want to end this on a positive. So things that I am looking forward to watch. I'm looking forward to watching the younger guys. I think that they need to be getting a lot more play. There should not be games where Ricky Pearsall is not getting receptions, not having the opportunity to score touchdowns. He is one of the only deep threats that they have on this team right now with Brandon Ayuk out. He's way more effective than Deebo Samuel. No offense to Deebo. Right now, if you're not earning the ball, I don't think that you should just be given 10 to 12 touches every single game if you're not earning them. Ricky made the most of his opportunities last week. I'm surprised that he didn't get more opportunities this week. So I want to see him. I want to continue to see Juwan Jennings. I just love watching that guy play. What an underdog story. Everyone loves, Brock Purdy, 7th round pick. Juwan Jennings is also a 7th round pick, and he's always had this, belief in himself. He was asked when he had his breakout game against the Rams, like, did something new happen? He was like, I feel like I've always had this ability. I'm just finally getting the ball because there's no one else to give the ball to. So excited to watch Juwan Jennings. He's not a young guy, though. Mustafa and Green on defense, speaking of the younger guys, I'm interested in watching those guys. To start the game, like I said, I felt like the defense was really good against Seattle in the first half. It's just you can't expect your defense to hold the other team to 10 points the entire game. That's not realistic. But they did really well in the first half, and I thought Mustafa and Green did well. Green on the other side of Demo. I mean, he had a couple, he wasn't perfect, but I think watching them develop as the season goes on could be interesting. Mustafa, I definitely feel like is going to replace Huff at the end of the season. I think they'll let him walk. So young guys, Pooney, I'm interested to re-looking at the offensive line tape. There's been a lot of praise with this offensive line because obviously everyone expected that it was going to do very poorly, and then it was ranked pretty highly the last 3 weeks. And then this week, Brock Purdy had no time in that pocket, no time. A lot of people were wondering why he wasn't checking the ball down even more to Christian McCaffrey, because that last year is what really helped him. But he had to snap the ball, catch it, run, because the defenders were in his face. Not saying he didn't make some mistakes. There was probably some times that he could have dumped the ball off, but for the most part, the O-line did not hold up. Now, you have to remember, Trent Williams, he sat out all week didn't practice once with his ankle injury. When he walked into the game today, he was limping. You know, in the where they all dress up and they have the pictures, he was limping in that picture. So Trent Williams was not himself. He usually misses a couple, 2 or 3 games a season. I don't think he's played a full season in a couple of years. I don't know, maybe he didn't feel like he could miss this game. Colton McKivitz played horribly today, had multiple penalties, had a situation where he had a penalty and then allowed a sack on the very next play. I mean, Colton McKivitz is horrible, obviously, but that goes back to Kyle. Like, Kyle, you're either coaching it or letting it happen. Kyle's the pseudo GM. Everything that he wants, John Lynch does. Why is Colton McKivitz being paid? Why is he on the team? They know he's mediocre, and Kyle thinks that they can go cheap on the O-line, and this is how your quarterback gets hurt. By the way, Brock Purdy, in the throwing motion, got his freaking arm hit hella hard again in this game. Luckily, his elbow's fine, but as it was happening, the announcers went, oh, you got to be careful letting your quarterback's arm get hurt like that. It can hurt the elbow. And I felt like telling the announcers, we know because Brock Purdy's injured his elbow that way before because of the O-line. But yeah, so looking forward to watching the young receivers. And then I'm looking forward to seeing how Brock ends this year. It's definitely been a more tumultuous year for him. In some ways, he's looked better because he's utilized those legs. The offense has been a lot harder. There hasn't been the Jimmy gimmies, the easy throws, the setups. Kyle hasn't done as much for Brock, but Brock has still made things happen. So, like, statistically, he's doing way worse. But actually, I think he's had a lot more on his plate. And you kind of see the areas where he is helping. Now, I'm interested. Will fans turn on Brock? Because there's always going to be some throws that he did miss or didn't see someone get open. So what I'm interested in, if the 49ers season continues to go this way, are fans going to stick with Kyle Shanahan and be like, yeah, this is our coach, he needs to get an even better QB? And that's what he's done in the past, right? With Jimmy, with everyone else. People have sided with Kyle and been like, this is the genius head coach. He's, elevating these mediocre quarterbacks. We need to get him a good quarterback, then he could win the Super Bowl. In this situation, has Brock earned enough cachet with fans where people are going to start to stand behind Brock and they're going to be like, Brock needs a new coach? Or if he does continue to struggle, are people going to say, we don't want to pay this guy. We don't know if he should be a franchise quarterback and we'd rather keep Kyle and let go of Brock? Or do you want to let go of both of them? I'm really interested to see what happens with Brock. Do fans turn on him? Do they not? And then, like I said, those young guys, specifically Mustafa and Green, I thought they had a pretty good day today. Not sure about the very ending. Got to rewatch that. They might have been some of the people that weren't looking, Mustafa specifically, and Jair Brown as well. Might have been one of the reasons that Geno Smith was able to get some of those runs off. But like I said, the first half at least, I felt like they did well. But you can't completely bail out the defense because they blew a lead to the Rams, blew a lead to the Cardinals. They let the Tampa Bay tie the game at the very end, even though they were winning, and then they just blew a lead to the Seahawks. So I'm not trying to give the defense a total out. You can't blow leads all the time. But then I say the same thing. I say that, and then I think, okay, but 49ers offense, do something. When the defense gets an interception and you're given the ball, do something with it. You can't always be on the defense. So, anyways, total team failure. They had another, muff punt situation. Jake Moody made his field goal, so that's good. Made his extra points. In pregame warm-ups, apparently he dinked one and it didn't go in, and the entire stadium went, oh no, is this going to continue? But luckily for him, he made the field goals when he needed to. So good job for Jake Moody on that. That punter, Pat, whatever, the one that I sat next to on the plane, I was all excited about. I don't know how good he is, so hopefully Mitch Wachowski, I can't say his last name well, heals up and gets back out there. But yeah, they need to fire Brian Schneider, and at the end of this year, they need to make a lot of changes. But I don't know what they're going to try to do to get them together and sneak into the playoffs, because it's not looking good. Do you think the 49ers, I want them to go to the playoffs. I wanted them to go to the Super Bowl. I want to go to New Orleans, okay? So I'm hoping that they sneak in, hoping that, this is just, but how do you keep looking at 5-5? It can't just, it's not a fluke anymore. This is his team. They missed their Super Bowl window. The guys that used to be good, they're old, they're injured, they're not doing what they used to. Kyle Shanahan didn't play the rookies when he should have, didn't play the young guys when he should have, so they're inexperienced. It's a disjointed team. Oh, It's a disjointed team that's not together right now. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I will be right back with an injury update, but I really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging in. I've been really sick this week, so that's why my videos have been a little bit different than normal. But please give me a like, give me a like and subscribe. Give me a comment. Let me know, what are you looking forward to, and are you Team Kyle, Team Brock, Team Fire Everyone? Have a good one. Bye, guys.